Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The October 1st, 2025 meeting of the City Council will now come to order at 6 p.m. Winnie, may we have roll call, please?
Jessica Ayers. Here. Nick Card.
Here.
Kevin Keating.
Here.
Mike Kurlinger.
Present.
John Quinn.
Here.
Zach Smith.
Here.
Kevin Stein. He's supposed to be here via Zoom, so hopefully. Okay, and Garrett West.
I'm here.
We have 7 present.
All right, we have quorum. Mr. Field, do you have any city manager reports for us this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Rob Field, your city manager. Brief update for you on goings on around the town. Okay.
You should be good now.
Nope.
Still not working.
Nope, still not working.
The arrows will work.
Okay, no worries. All right. Okay, good evening. Council engagement. The councilors have been out and about representing the city quite well. Councilor Quinn joined Medford Police Department's booth at the Multicultural Fair. They received over 230 visitors. Councilors Keating, Quinn, and West visited the Innovation Academy and attended some classes, talked a little bit about Medford's form of government, and answered some questions about campaign policy, local, and probably some legal issues too, since we had a lawyer or two in the room. Thank you for doing that. TSAP, we've heard about this before, but it's really, really critical. The open house is tomorrow. The information from this will feed into our transportation system plan, so really important to get as much attendance there as possible. Lithium driveway, pickleball courts, groundbreaking. That is tomorrow at Rogue X. We are building 19 courts. We have 6 more courts that will hope be happening in the future to set us up for tournament play. It's got a $1.75 million project funded by Howard Memorial Sports Park, Southern Oregon Pickleball Association, and Lithium Motors, who's got naming rights. So we're really looking forward to that. And one of those courts, by the way, is a championship court, so that hopefully we'll see ourselves on ESPN and Fox, which are showing pickleball all the time these days. Fire, open houses next week to celebrate Fire Prevention Week with local firefighters. People get to tour stations, see our equipment, learn some safety tips, maybe even get a chance to use some of the fire hoses. None of the other apparatus, though, will be available for kid play. So schedule is Station 16, October 7th, Station 12, October 9th. And finally, Chief Thompson's going to talk a little bit about the latest addition to our EMS system. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Field. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Eric Thompson, your fire chief. I'm very pleased to be able to announce that last week we launched our 3rd EMS squad. And so, just think 2 years ago we had our first one, and now we already have our 3rd squad in service. We have a 7-day-a-week program now. And so a really neat thing happened this past Saturday. This was the first Saturday that we ever had a squad in service, and the first day we had a CPR save on Stewart Avenue. So already positive community impacts by saving a life. So just want to remind council that on Friday morning at 10 o'clock, Station 14 will be having a badge ceremony, pending ceremony for our 2 newest members to the team. So thank you again for supporting the vision and supporting the program, and it's definitely making positive community impacts. Thank you.
And the fire department continues to be part of the regional response. Several of our firefighters were dispatched to the, which fire was it?
Moon Complex.
Moon Complex fire. They just came back. So we're continuing to be a really good regional partner in the firefighting world. So with that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Field. We're moving on to agenda item 30, starting with our Community group report. We have one tonight, which is Downtown Medford Association. Annie?
Oh, thank you, Winnie. Am I on? Yeah. Good night, good afternoon or evening, Mayor and City Council. I am going to make this presentation fairly short since we've been in front of you quite a bit lately. And so we'll just start off with our current agreement metrics. We have far exceeded anything that we thought we could actually accomplish as well. So membership revenue, we have been up 57%. A lot of that we've seen roughly about 110 partners at this point in time, 30 which are outside of our district, meaning they're not in our downtown boundaries, which is fantastic because that just goes to show you how much people want to see a change in our downtown area. Business participation is definitely up. A lot of that's due to the coffeepreneurs that we started in April. We've seen over 59 entrepreneurs come into our area come into our downtown along with entrepreneurial support organizations. That's the cities, that's So Ready, that's Marshall Doak from SBDC, the librarian, business librarian. So they come to those meetings as well and offer support to the entrepreneurs that we have show up in that room. We've also held socials. We've had over 325 people attend our socials. And then Power Hours, which is our morning meetings on the second Tuesday of the month. We've seen almost 400 people attend those since October timeframe. Our e-communications is also up significantly. Having our part-time person be really dedicated to our social media and being able to be engaging constantly has been a huge help to also get the word out about what DMA is doing and what is happening in our downtown area. I've talked quite a bit about the fundraising target, so I wasn't going to hit on that unless you guys have any questions at the end. Next is Economic Improvement District, slowly moving forward here. October 15th, you guys will see a resolution 8.2004 to council for approval. Yes, I can't say those numbers as fast as Eric can. Not even going to try. But we're excited, so you'll see the timeline in front of you. The second meeting will be the second part of November or the first part of December for an agreement with the DMA and also to present the ordinance for approval. And then there will be a 30-day notice for public hearing. And then at the end of January, beginning of February, we'll do a final resolution with you guys. So that's the plan there. Next, I just kind of wanted to show you some of the things that we've had going on, some of the flyers that we put out, some of the information that we've got going on. Probably the biggest thing here that I'd like to talk about is Maker's Marketplace. We started that last month, Medford Third Fridays, and that's in Vogel Plaza. It was attended by 9 vendors, and this month so far we are seeing participation starting to climb in that for October. Ride for a Cause, which is our signature event, will be happening on October 11th. And then October 17th through the 23rd, there will be the first ever Downtown Medford Restaurant Week called Forks and Friends. In partnership with Travel Medford. We're really excited about this. We've got 18 restaurants on board so far that will be serving specials and doing different things throughout that week. Art and Bloom, as you all know, came back. They're looking at coming back in 2026 as well. But they were mostly coming back due to the participation we gave to them, the love that we gave to them, begging them to come back into our downtown. And then I just wanted to share with you, Coffeepreneurs is a monthly thing that we have going on. Our Easter egg hunt was the first one that we had back in, I believe it was April. I can't even remember the dates back in back then. And then our flower baskets were also hugely successful, and we're getting ready to go into our lights. Right now, the campaign will start this coming month. Recent accomplishments, like I said, Forks and Friends Restaurant Week is coming. This next week, we will receive some awards at the Oregon Main Street conference that is going on the 8th through the 10th. We're really excited about that, so you'll see some good news coming out there. Also, we just received a grant from Medford Public Arts Commission in regards to the utility boxes. We went after a grant there and received $2,750. So we will be partnering on hopefully starting those and getting them done in this next year. It's one of our big goals. And then I would say lastly, our foundation has raised about $4,000. So our foundation went into an existence earlier this year, and we've raised about $4,000, and they're working hard on grants for beautification. So 1,000 of that will go towards lights in downtown and Vogel Plaza that we'll be partnering with Rogue Retreat on, and then also we've asked for another grant from somebody else that it looks like we'll be getting that. And then we've also asked, the foundation has gone in for a grant for the utility boxes as well from Jackson County Cultural Coalition. And then they've raised $3,000 to go towards flower baskets for next year. So the idea with the foundation is that they can help drop some costs for other places, but also they can't be money for us, but they're there to encourage to do projects in our downtown to help out, and their main focus is beautification. So with that, I would answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Yeah, Kevin?
Excited about the utility box thing. How many boxes would that cover with that amount of money, do you think?
So it will all depend on how we do them. We're also looking at partnering with the planning department on those. So back a year ago when we did those, there's 38 in the downtown that can be done. The estimate, if they're wrapped, is right around $58,000. And so those are dollars that we'll have to continue to raise. But we can also look at doing them different ways. So we'll work out how that all works through this next year.
Great. Other questions? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Do I need to turn this off?
We are now on agenda item 40, which is oral requests and communications from the audience. Oral requests and communications is where the city council sets aside 30 minutes for in-person public comments. Comments are limited to 2 minutes per person or organization. As outlined in the agenda, the public may also submit written comments to the council. Erica, please note the written comments received for the record.
Yes, Your Honor, we received written comments from two people. Bob Shan submitted comments outlining his opinions regarding improvements on Edwards Street, and Michael Flynn submitted written comments regarding an alternative convention center downtown. The comments were submitted to the mayor, the council, and appropriate staff. Comments are also available on the city's website. There are no other written comments received for agenda line item 40.
Thank you. But before hearing public comments, I'd like to note the decorum policy for the council chambers. The use of noisemakers or disruptive audience behavior such as applause, cheering, or shouting is not permitted. Decorum violations are time-consuming and disrespectful to the speaker and all attendees. Failure to follow the basic standards of decorum may result in removal from the meeting. Finally, and I would like to emphasize that this is your opportunity to provide comments to the council, is not intended for a time of questions and answers. If you have completed a public comment form, please come forward to the front of the room when your name is called. The time is 8:14 p.m. Has anyone submitted a comment?
We had 3 comments submitted, Fred Harriman, Michael Flynn, and Chris Turner.
Okay, Fred?
And I am totally for the Emeralds to come to Medford. Very good for Medford. But this plan for the new stadium in downtown is extremely flawed. I totally understand the concept of downtown stadium, a hotel close by, and so forth. But what's forgotten is the 75 to 100 hardworking Medfordites that will be displaced with this stadium. So I'm for the Emeralds to come here, but I would love to have some common sense involved in the selection of the stadium. Again, I understand the concept of a new stadium, a hotel close, and so forth, but that's a dream that should not be utilized on the backs of 75 to 100 hardworking Medfordites. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, Michael?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm just going to read this statement very quickly since I have 2 minutes. It's in support of the ballot measure 15238 in the convention center. The basic request is just that we take a step back and make sure that we're maximizing the return on investment for the Valley and the city of Medford. Mayor, councilors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Medford is entering a defining moment. The decisions you make now around public investment and land use will shape how our city grows, not just for the next few years, but for generations. I'd like to offer a few considerations in the spirit of collaboration and long-term planning. First, site and integration. The proposed convention center presents real opportunity. One option worth exploring further is a central location, such as the downtown transit block, that better connects north and south opportunity zone parcels and supports walkability, civic access, and long-term land value uplift. This could help ensure any future district development works as a true economic and cultural hub. Second, facility utility. There's also an opportunity to look at how a stadium, if included, might serve more than one sport or seasonal use. By considering a multi-use, multi-sport model attached to the convention center, we could expand its potential to host civic events, youth tournaments, and cultural programming year-round. This isn't about choosing one sport over another. It's about getting the most out of the investment for the widest range of residents and visitors. Third, transparency and due diligence. Before public funding is committed, I believe the community would benefit from a comparative feasibility study, a transparent, independent analysis that looks at long-term ROI across possible facility designs, sites, and programming models. That way, whatever decision is made will have a solid foundation and clear metrics for success. Finally, vision and public trust. This is an opportunity to set a tone for how we steward our downtown, our green space, and our public resources. With clear communication and inclusive planning, this initiative could become a cornerstone not just of our convention economy, but of a more connected, more vibrant Medford. In that spirit, I provided a concept of one potential alternative site plan. It is not intended to step on the excellent work already underway, but to illustrate how a convention center and multi-sport venue could be positioned to strengthen both Old Town and a future new city innovation district. If council is open, I'd welcome the opportunity to walk through this concept at a future study session so the full range of options can be transparently considered. You all have a copy of this statement and the diagrams on the back. I should just add also for the councilors, I am here representing professional soccer, and I do represent the opportunity to bring MLS Timbers 2 down to the Valley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chris?
Good evening. Presumably, you were all elected to represent us over and above your personal goals or agendas, but cup your hand over your ear, and you could still hear the uproar from the downtown striping project. Did public input ahead of time fall short? Will history repeat itself? Tonight's agenda may hold the answer or at least some clues. I'll ignore the typos such as those on pages 703 and 704. The number of public responses to the community the community survey was rounded up to 1,300. That's less than 1.5% of our population. Of note, 45% of the respondents were between 35 and 54, but over a third were over 55. No data on how many were registered voters. Some survey questions had single digit or zero response. Zero. Is that enough input for a $500 million project? Set all of that aside and consider the reality of projects others have tried, and I don't mean in places like Houston. The Twin Creeks Master Plan of 2001 boasted at its hub there would be medical, professional, possible retail, or a restaurant. 24 years later, there are about 6 commercial sites, no restaurant, hardly a vibrant community. Most recent tragedy is the Foodery in Phoenix, wildly popular, but only 13 months after its official opening, 60% of the vendors are ready to bail. As the representative of Football Unlimited may suggest, take your time, do some soul searching. Who does the Creekside Corridor project really serve? Is it too big to fail, or is it too big to do anything but? You'll be true to your duty to represent all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have one more that has submitted a public comment, so come on down and introduce yourself.
I'm Bill Dames, 2337 Kona Circle, Medford, and I also submitted a letter, although I don't know, and it, that would document some of the stuff I'm talking about, including the baseball proposal and the some of the zoning things. A lot of the zoning and comprehensive plan stuff says don't turn your back on Bear Creek, and if you have a stadium, you can go to the other side of the creek and turn your back on the creek. And so I think it's not just for downtown businesses. I think it's a great idea to try to have businesses and restaurants face the creek, but it's also a good idea not to block it on the other side when, especially in all the planning documents seem to talk about using this wide open space, Hawthorne Park, that's been there forever, and people seem to want that. So putting some sort of facility there is crazy. I mean, there are a lot of other places you can put a baseball or football field or whatever you want. You don't need to put it downtown. And as to housing, well, the other thing that I would strongly suggest is that you bring back the facade improvement program that we had in the urban renewal way back when. That was very popular amongst businesses, but one way to give a boost to downtown, I don't know how much money you've got, but if you can back several loans for facade improvements, I think that would go a long ways to helping downtown.
Thank you. Is there anyone here tonight that did not complete a public comment form and would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to minutes. We've all received the draft minutes from the September 17th, 2025 regular meeting. Does anyone have any revisions or corrections to those minutes? Okay, good. Good. Seeing none, the minutes will stand as submitted. There are no items on the consent calendar tonight, so we will move on to ordinances and resolutions, beginning with 80.1.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 80.1 is Council Bill 2025-81, an ordinance approving and authorizing execution of a contract in the amount of $413,469 with Vitus Construction, Inc. to extend apparatus bays at Fire Station 13.
Thank you. Does anyone need a staff report, or do we have a motion?
I move to approve Council Bill 2025-81.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Yes, Mr. Card.
So I just want to point out that this is something that did come to us as part of the budget. This was something that was approved as part of the budget. Capital expenditures were already outlaid, and it is related to the new aerial unit that we are acquiring for fire. So this is a pretty routine matter, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Curlinger?
In addition to being already budgeted for, I believe our bid came in a little over 100,000 less than was budgeted. Good job.
Great. Other items for discussion? Seeing none, William, you call the roll?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I missed the second.
Nick Card.
Thank you. Jessica Ayers,
Yes.
Nick Card.
Yes.
Mike Curlinger,
Yes.
Garrett West,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
Kevin Stein,
Yes.
and Zach Smith.
Yes.
We have 8 yes.
All right, motion carries. Before we get to 80.2, Kevin Stein is attending remotely. So to the audience, there is another councilor member. Yes, the ghost of Kevin Stein is with us tonight. I mean, the spirits, All right, feels like he's right there. 80.2, Mr. Minton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 80.2 is Council Bill 2025-82, a resolution describing council's intent on how it will utilize an increase in transient lodging tax should the voters approve that increase in the November 2025 election.
All right, thanks. So just as to set this up a little bit, we've had study sessions. This has been discussed. Certainly Eric is available to answer any questions. This being not like a traditional ordinance or contract approval or something like that. Normally I would take a motion and we'd go ahead and have some discussion on that. This is one where it might be worthwhile to have, an opportunity to speak out of like potential amendments that might be made and whatnot. So does anyone have any thoughts on trying to amend this matter as it's presented? Kevin?
Was that for Keating or me?
Kevin Stein.
Okay, thank you. I wish I had a proper amendment. I've been looking over the language, and I just don't know the best way to move forward. I do have something to say on it, and I'll go with that. So, I don't support this resolution in its current form. As someone that has been here for a while, I believe flexibility matters, especially as it relates to finances. I support the Creekside Quarter in its proposed form. I want the conference center, downtown revitalization, local shops, a stadium, anything else that comes with it. But the big problem is that we don't get a choice in the way these things develop. We can't say, 1 year from now we're voting on something, or 2 years from now the next thing gets done. 5 years ago, things looked much different. 5 years from now, things will look much different. And I just have a lot of concerns about what happens to that flexibility if we go down this road. I understand the premise behind it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm fine with the extinguishment of the potential lodging tax increase after the bonds are paid off, but I just don't want to be in a situation where it'd be us or another council are kind of hamstrung in certain ways because of the language before us today.
Okay. How about this? How about, since we really aren't looking at an amendment, how about a motion on the matter? Okay, Mr. Card.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-82.
Second.
And a second from Kevin Keating. Mr. Card?
So I just wanted to make a comment. I think, Kevin, I share your concern about flexibility. What I think when I look at this resolution, I actually see within this resolution the kind of flexibility we need to have. We have to recognize that any kind of taxes and increases are things that have impact on our community, and that the best and most constructive way for us to move forward is through partnership. I think we must recognize that our hotel partners have been willing to support these kind of fund increases. They recognize the need for these taxes to help develop facilities like the conference center. But I think it is their requests for some of these sideboards, as well as being consulted on other increases if it's needed. That is exactly what I intend to do. I would not want to shove it down somebody's throat, so to speak. And so I look at this as being exactly the kind of capture of what today is, And it gives us that opportunity that in 5 years, if we are 5 years down the road and the situation is different, we're moving forward. I think this is simply a statement of exactly how I would move forward, whether this is adopted or not, which is if in 5 years from now things look different and we need to talk about looking at other ways to use TLT funds to accomplish the goals of the moment, we'd sit down with our hotel partners and have those same conversations. So as I look at this, I think this gives us the kind of flexibility that we would need to have. It speaks to the partnership that we have today, and so that's why I'm in support.
Other comments? Jessica?
So I share a lot of Nick's feelings. This resolution is written exactly how I would want to see it laid out. My big concern was I didn't want to hamstring future councils to this if the scenario changes, and I'm sure someone like Eric Mitten could explain that this is not legally binding forever and it can be changed. So I feel better knowing that I am not necessarily setting a future council up for failure by adopting this.
Would you like me to speak to that briefly, Mayor?
Sure.
So this resolution is a statement of intent. It's not a legally binding document. If this is passed and a week after it's passed, the council goes a different direction, that might have political implications in terms of relationships with certain business owners, but it's not something anyone could sue over. So this is simply a statement of intent in terms of what the council is looking at doing with this. And as a statement of intent, it also would not create legal liability for future councils as well as this council. But it is meant to be a serious statement of intent and not just something thrown out there.
Yes, Mr. Kerlinger.
I think my main concern is also with subsection C, just the idea of, I actually really love the idea of, hey, we're doing this to accomplish a specific goal, and once that goal's been accomplished and it's funded, we can roll it back. But it's going to be years before that's paid off, and so I'm skeptical of how confident are we 15, 20 years from now we're going to be like, hey, great, nothing else came up. That being said, I do like that idea. I don't think we should keep fees high just for the fun of it. This is imperfect. I mean, I don't disagree with Kevin Stein. I think the approach, this is fluid. The approach to the project has been fluid. The players have been fluid. The conversations have been fluid. That's the nature of this. I do think this shows a good intent to want to be good partners with our business community, to just keeping open communication with them. So would I write it this way? I don't know. I've never written a resolution, but Eric's pretty good at it. But I do think it shows our intent to be open with our communication and our community partners, and I think that's important.
All right. Yes, Mr. Quinn.
You know, I also think about the citizens in general, not the hoteliers. And what often is said is, you imposed a tax and fee on us, and you told us it was for X, and you used it for Y. This cures both of those problems, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's a tax on people who come in and use the resource, not on us. It's a hotel tax. So it would essentially be passed on to those who benefit. So to say it's a tax on the people who live here, you're not going to be staying in a hotel in your own town. So that is a misconception that it's taxing us. Secondly, and you use it for something else, well, we're telling you in writing and voting on it what we're going to use it for. So that's transparent as well. There's no bait and switch because we're putting it in black and white. So two common concerns that I think people have frequently and may have about this, I think this helps take care of, and I will be voting for it.
Anyone else? Okay. Winnie, will you call the roll?
Nick Card,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
Zach Smith,
Yes.
Kevin Stein,
No.
Garrett West,
Abstain.
John Quinn,
Yes.
Mike Kerlinger,
Yes.
and Jessica Ayers.
Yes.
We have 6 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
All right, motion carries. On to public hearings. But before beginning the public hearing, I'd like to remind everyone that the rules of decorum previously outlined are still applicable, and violation of decorum policy may result in your removal from the chambers. This evening, we have one legislative hearing and 2 quasi-judicial hearings. If you'd like to speak during one of these hearings, please complete a blue public comment form to be called forward. Comments for administrative or legislative hearings are limited to 4 minutes per individual, group, or organization. Comments for quasi-judicial hearings are limited to a total of 30 minutes for the applicants and/or their representatives. A 5-minute rebuttal time may be requested. Appellants and/or their representatives are limited to a total of 30 minutes, and if the applicant is not the appellant, they will also be allowed a total of 30 minutes. All other participants will be limited to 4 minutes. Quasi-judicial hearings have specific requirements, which City Attorney Eric Minton will outline before the public hearing begins. We are going to do this a little bit out of order. There are applicants here, so, and the first item on our agenda is strictly from the city, so to allow these persons to respect their time, we'll take 90.2 first.
Your microphone, Mr. Minton.
I should know better than that. Okay. Item 90.2 is Council Bill 2025-84, an ordinance vacating Belknap Road located between Garfield Street and Center Drive, and then east of Center Drive to the terminus of the subject Belknap Road right-of-way. The subject rights-of-way are within the heavy commercial zoning district. This is quasi-judicial, so I'll cover just a few rules real quick. These will also apply to 90.3. I'm going to explain the rules that govern these hearings. Before the hearing begins, city staff will give a report. The report will list the criteria that governs the city's decision. After the staff report, the hearing will be open for other speakers. The applicant will speak first and may ask for rebuttal time. Following the applicant, any other interested person will be allowed to speak. Before the hearing is closed, anyone who needs more time to present evidence must ask for more time. If you ask, the hearing will be continued or the record will be kept open, and you'll have at least 7 days to present additional written evidence. Any testimony, argument, or evidence you give must relate to the criteria listed in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations that you believe apply to the decision. If you fail to raise an issue or do not give the council sufficient information so that the council and any party can respond, you will not be able to appeal that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. If you do not raise constitutional or other issues about any proposed condition with specificity so that the council can respond to that issue, you will not be able to bring a court action for damages. Thank you.
Since this is a land use quasi-judicial matter, before considering, does anyone have conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts to report? All right, seeing none, may we have staff report, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, councilors. I am Kelly Aiken with your Planning Department. We've actually had a last-minute request to continue this item to your next meeting, to the October 15th meeting. So if there's anybody present this evening that wouldn't like to participate and it can't come to the 15th, we're prepared with the staff report. Otherwise, we request just a continuance.
How about we do this? Is there anyone here to speak on this matter tonight that can't come back next? When are we doing this?
October 15th, Your Honor. Thank you.
Seeing none, I'll take a motion to continue. Mr. Card?
I move to continue item 2025-84 to October 15th.
Second.
All right. I'm going to say no discussion and call the roll.
Nick Card,
Yes.
Mike Kurlinger,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
Garrett West,
Yes.
Zach Smith,
Yes.
Jessica Ayers,
Yes.
and John Quinn.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
And that is continued to October 15th. So we are on 90.3.
Thank you, Your
All
Honor.
that fancy stuff you just read is still applicable.
Still applicable.
Wonderful.
90.3 is Council Bill 2025-85, a resolution authorizing a revised transportation facility for Edwards Street between Niantic Street and North Riverside Avenue using a modified minor collector street cross-section with improvements on the north side of Edwards Street that include reducing the bike and on-street parking lanes, eliminating or reducing the park strip, installing a wider sidewalk, and reducing the overall right-of-way width.
You know, who's the applicant?
The city of Medford is for this one as well.
All right. Do we have to ask for ex parte contact, even though this is?
It is quasi-judicial, so even
Feels
though
odd.
the city is an applicant, I think
Okay.
we should ask for ex parte.
Fair enough. Does anyone have any ex parte contact or, oh, I'm so glad I asked.
I know the city of Medford, so ex parte contact, and I have driven on this street before, so thank you.
Okay, perfect. And I think that we'll assume that applies to all of us. May we have staff report, please?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Carla Palladino with your Planning Department. This evening, we're talking about the Edward Street Transportation Facility Project. This is consideration of street improvements along the north side of Edward Street. Oh, doesn't like my... Is that working? Oh, bummer. Okay. So we're looking for consideration of street improvements along the north side of Edward Street between Niantic and Riverside based on a modified minor collector cross-section. Transportation facilities are a process for the city to use our funding to allow for modifications to cross-sections without doing an exception. Applicant this evening is the City of Medford, Medford Urban Renewal Agency, and Ken Parducci is here to help answer the tough questions on the design. The authority and criteria this evening, there are 4 criteria in the Development Code, Section 10.226 sub 2. 3 of those are found to be satisfied and 1 not applicable. So in terms of location, this is just north of downtown. This is a portion of Edward Street. It's about 600 feet long between Niantic and Riverside in the Liberty Park neighborhood. Sign Dude is on the kind of eastern corner of Riverside and Edwards. And then kind of moving west, we have Youth 715 Community Center. We have Hearts with a Mission. There's several of their shelters. And then House of Beauty at the northwest corner. In terms of projects and selection and funding, this project is identified in several of our plans. First, the Transportation System Plan, Project 462. It's also identified in the Liberty Park Neighborhood Plan, as well as the City Center Revitalization Plan. And the project is fully funded by the Medford Urban Renewal Agency. So in terms of existing conditions, just to kind of give you a level of what it looks like. So this is starting at Riverside and going west. You can see that there is some curbing along kind of the Sign Dude property. There is sidewalk also along Riverside or along that frontage. The street itself is paved. There's 1 travel lane in each direction. There's approximately 60 feet of existing right-of-way. Moving farther west, you can see that there's no longer curbing, that there's kind of perpendicular and parallel parking occurring. There's, utility poles, there's mailboxes, things that are occurring in the right-of-way, kind of just already out there. And then looking just at the corner here towards Niantic, again, some gravel parking areas, some curbing along that intersection at Niantic, and then a fire hydrant. So our standard cross-section for minor collectors, this is right-of-way between 60 and 76 feet, typically if we were going to build this new. Again, 1 travel lane in each direction. Typically there's bike lanes and parking on both sides, as well as landscape planter strips and sidewalk. So in terms of the proposal this evening, that typical cross-section is on the top row. The proposal this evening is to look at modifying the bike lane from 6 feet to 5 feet, reducing the on-street parking from 8 feet to 7 feet, and increasing the sidewalk from 5 feet to 7. And the reason for that is, just as I had noted, there's several obstructions that are occurring, the mailboxes, utility poles. We want to make sure that there's enough right-of-way there for ADA clearance and making sure that there's just avoiding any of those conflicts and providing enough opportunity for people to get by. In terms of the planter strip, there will be 3 or 4 locations where we will provide a varying degree of planter strip. It will be a little bit different because it will be behind the sidewalk. And then the total paved width is looking at 48 feet rather than 50, and we're looking at a total right-of-way width of about 60 feet. So here's the proposed plan. Just wanted to try and blow it up so you could see it again. This is now starting at the Niantic site on the west. You can see the green area is the proposed planter strip behind the sidewalk. We've got the gray sidewalk right underneath, kind of flowing to the east. And then under that way would be the parking lane, the bike lane, and then the travel lane. And then this is kind of the eastern section. Again, the green locations are proposed planter areas. You can see the driveway curb cuts. There will be a closure of the existing driveway at Sign Dude. They'll just have that one on the western side of their property. And looking again at, creating that bulb out for sidewalks along that intersection. In terms of public comment, we did have a planning commission hearing. There was no public testimony that evening. Also, the city held an open house on September 15th. We had 2 of the owners attend, but Ken has been able to talk to all 4 property owners. They are aware of the project and communication has occurred with them. In terms of committee commission meetings, so this goes through the Active Transportation Advisory Committee, the Transportation Commission, and the Planning Commission. And so when it went to ATAC and the Transportation Commission, they all kind of thought that it would be better to maybe increase the parking lane over, maybe take a foot from the sidewalk and add it to the parking lane. Again, staff is of the opinion that, we need to have that extra buffer for sidewalk to make sure that we can get around some of those existing obstructions or structures that are out there. The Planning Commission held a study session, and at their hearing on September 11th, they did recommend forwarding the city's proposal. The vote was 6-1. And that's this next slide here. So with that, we have, staff is recommending you approve Council Bill 2025-85. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Sure. Questions? Mr. Curlinger?
Yeah, the reason behind keeping the extra width on the sidewalk because of the obstructions is so we can maintain ADA compliance, correct?
Yes. And if you want Mr. Parducci to come down and confirm, I'm happy to have that too. That's my understanding.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Keating.
That's right. The obstruction of the mailbox, can that be moved, or does that stay where it's going to be? Is that considered an immovable construction?
I have to dial a friend on that. I don't know if they can be moved. I mean, I think obviously there's probably things that get rearranged, but I don't know how far off. They're probably still maybe in the sidewalk location.
Interesting. Okay.
Can want to come down? I don't know. Make sure I don't misspeak on that.
Yeah, we'll just double check it.
Yes, please. Oh, it's going the long way. It's going the long way.
You're making this very dramatic, Ken.
Real quick.
No.
Yeah, the sidewalk, the mail, I'm Ken Parducci, Medford Urban Renewal. Yes, the mailboxes will be adjusted, but they will be put back in place at the back of walk, which stick out about 18 inches past into the sidewalk. So that's why staff wanted, and Public Works wanted the additional footage on the sidewalks for that, for the poles, for the fire hydrants, and anything else that comes about in the future, that we have the extra area that we don't run into ADA compliance issues in the future.
So Ken, just real quick, what happens west of this terminus? Is there sidewalk that continues, existing sidewalk?
Yes, we did a project just a little while back to the west on the south side there. There's nothing currently past the next block, so we're still looking at future improvements in Liberty Park.
Is that intended to go, is it Court? Would be, if you continued west, what's the next main?
To the
Court?
It'd be across Niantic. I think there's one more cross street, then it's Court Street. I thought it was further than that, but it could be.
Okay.
Yeah, Court.
Is there an intention, or will we need to do another transportation facility to extend sidewalk all the way to Court Street? Or is that not part of the plan?
We haven't looked that far yet. It's on the list, but Public Works, we sit down with Public Works and we go through, we take the ones that are easier to do, don't have right of way, don't have utility impacts. And so right now we're focusing on Manzanita, which is the one that has approved that we're going to be doing next. And so we haven't determined any more Liberty Park projects at this time.
Okay.
But we do have improvements, as you can see there. We are going to do improvements on the northwest side there to tie in so that we're ADA compliant on all corners there at Edwards.
Okay. Mike?
I lied to you. It's Beatty, then Boardman, then Court.
Yeah.
Regarding the planters, and forgive me, this may just be due to lack of experience. I know that they are visually appealing, but frequently those are used kind of as a buffer for people or multimodal transportation coming and going from the pedestrians. What is the purpose of a planter that is inside that right-of-way?
I think really it's just to provide that green space. So, add the trees, it still adds a visual. If the trees grow up, their shade, it still provides kind of that buffer.
Great. Further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on the subject, please come forward as called. Please identify yourself for the record before speaking.
We just have one, Your Honor, Jim DeBoer.
Okay.
Good evening. I just represent the sign dude, so we're obviously impacted here. I just have questions, I guess, to look into with the landscape corridor at the corner. Why the need is to block our entrance off. All of our traffic for our parking lot flows one direction, and so I think just hearing more about that and studying that, because that would totally change how our parking lot works. We have another entrance on the north of that, but everything's angled that direction, and we would have a total bottleneck inside of there with people. And then secondly, our sign is right there on the corner, and so that moving back into the parking lot obviously would change that as well, and how does that all work and impact it? So it does change our property, so, and makes it very hard to get in and out of. So, and I guess the other piece is that corner. We watch accidents happen there all the time. I'm sure Public Works knows about it, but I just wonder how this is going to help that, because Kids Unlimited blocks the view and people pull out there and get T-boned every week. So.
And no one else to speak? So, speaking of phone a friend, city being an applicant, can we consider this rebuttal, or do I need to close the public hearing first?
So just so you know,
Tom?
we will be.
We can consider this rebuttal,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, so there's a question in regard to changing driveway access for existing business right there at the intersection.
Yes, and so we did meet with traffic. Traffic said it does not meet the warrant to keep that driveway. In that being said, we will be getting together with the owner and going over parking layout, restriping. Traffic noted that he still has access on Riverside, on Alice, so he still has 3 access points to the property. And due to safety, we could not leave that one there. And with redoing the ADA ramp, the driveway was too close to the intersection. So, but we will be working with him on restriping and reconfiguring how traffic works in his parking lot.
And just looking at it, is that 24-foot driveway kind of west of the intersection, does that serve the property?
Yes.
And is that an existing access right
Yes.
now? Okay. Anyone have any follow-up? Yes, Mr. Carlinger?
Well, so I was wondering the same thing. You're just to the west, so we have 2 access points. One is noted as getting closed, and then one is slightly west, and that one will remain.
That one will remain. There's
And
one
that
on-
is currently a driveway?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's, currently access off of Riverside and the next block,
And our access off of Edwards?
Alice. I believe Alice is to the north. So he has one on Edwards, one on Riverside, one on Alice.
And copy.
And one getting closed on Edwards. So he has 2 on Edwards, one getting closed. Sorry.
Okay, no.
Jessica, then Kevin Keating?
Working with him to restripe at whose expense?
We have the project, Mira.
Kevin?
Can you just explain why that bump has to come out at that corner? Does that make it safer for wheelchair access, or what is the reason for that?
For the turning movement, I was told by traffic. So it pushes the traffic down and gets it away from the parked cars so we don't obstruct or come into conflict with any cars when we make that turning radius off Riverside.
And if that did not happen, then the driveway would be able to be remained open? Would be able to?
I do not believe so. It does not meet the current requirements when we touch a road, and it doesn't meet, when we're doing this road, we have to do the ADA ramp that is not in compliance.
Mr. West?
For the corner, we're not bumping the corner further out into the travel lane. We're just moving other portions of the sidewalk north. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of staff? All right, thank you. Seeing no further testimony, I will close the public hearing. And take a motion. Mr. Card.
I move to approve Council Bill 2025-85.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Card, second by Mr. West. Discussion? Yes, Mr. West.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate to have to close someone's access to a property, but this does look like a dangerous intersection. I have no doubt there have been accidents there. Given the current location and how close that access is to the intersection, it makes sense, I think, to ultimately close it. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Curlinger?
Just confirming our note that this project is being funded by Mura and was budgeted through Mura?
Yes. Cool. And just, I guess, is a little bit, so we're allowing standards alternate to what we would, to the normal standards, so that's the planning action in front of us is basically approving that cross-section. All right. Will you call the roll?
Nick Card.
Yes.
Garrett West.
Yes.
John Quinn.
Yes.
Zach Smith.
Yes.
Kevin Keating.
Yes.
Jessica Ayers.
Yes.
And Mike Curlinger.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
That passes. Is Kevin Stein still on, though? Okay, perfect. He's no longer with us. Sorry, that made me laugh. He's no longer attending the meeting remotely. Okay, so let's go back in time to 90.1. Mr. Mitten.
Thank you, Your Honor. 90.1 is Council Bill 2025-83. This was continued from December 3rd, 2025. An ordinance approving an amendment to the Medford Comprehensive Plan to adopt the downtown plan into the neighborhood element of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's your planning director here, Michelle King. I'm actually here to introduce Carla Palladino. Not that you don't know her, but I wanted to give her some kudos for her hard work up to this point and 18 months of developing the plan and working with the public. So there is a presentation that she'll be going through this evening to kind of give you all of the ins and outs of the plan today. I also just want to remind folks that this plan is a visionary document. It is not a set of codes, but really a vision for the downtown, and downtown being such a central part to Medford, being the heart of the city. It's an important neighborhood for us to complete a vision for the next 20 to 30 years. That being said, it's also a living document. We can come back and amend it at intervals to make it represent downtown today. So with that, I'll introduce Carla and we'll carry on.
Thank you, Michelle. Carla Palladino with your planning department. Okay, so this evening we're asking you to look at our comprehensive plan, so the legislative amendment, and asking you to incorporate the proposed downtown plan into the neighborhood element, which is a chapter of our comprehensive plan. Other plans in this chapter include the Southeast Plan and the Liberty Park Plan. There are criteria regarding comprehensive plan amendments. Section 10.220 sub 2 directs you back to the comprehensive plan. The 6 criteria on the screen have been addressed in your council report and have found to be either satisfied or not applicable. And then there are 6 more criteria that also have been addressed in your council report, also either satisfied or not applicable. So in terms of the project background, so the idea of updating the downtown plan probably came about maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. Downtown is the heart of our community. Efforts to keep improving downtown have been happening for many decades. And so recent interest at that time to look at updating what was the 2050 plan at that time came about. And so the council included in their biennial goals 2021 through 23, 23 through 2025, an update to the plan. Staff went after a transportation and growth management grant with the state. We were successful in getting that grant. You can see support letters in July of 2021 from City Council, Downtown Medford Association, Chamber of Commerce, the Medford Urban Renewal Agency, and the Rogue Valley Transportation District. We were awarded that grant in September of 2021, and then we kind of had a stop. We kind of had a gap. The state was doing all kinds of stuff, and we ended up not getting the money until mid-December of 2023. So that's when we started the project and kicked it off. So Project Dream Team, a big thank you to members of the advisory committee who are in the audience and who helped us through this process. Also, we had a great consultant team, MIG, ARG, and Kittleson helped us kind of outline the process over the last 18 months and figure out kind of where we started and where we ended up. And so also current and prior city council, I know you've sat through many meetings with me. You've heard this several times. I appreciate the input. And also the public as well. This is a community document. We went out, we had surveys, we had open houses, and so we did have good community feedback, and I will kind of weave in some of the things that we've heard as part of my presentation. So as I had mentioned, this has been 18 months. The project team helped walk us through different aspects of the plan, starting with vision and goals. We need to know where we're going and what we want to accomplish in the future. So we started also looking at land use and architectural standard concepts and the built environment. So all of those pieces together, trying to figure out, as we move forward, how do we want downtown to look and feel and be? So community input helped to envision the projects, building on each step. We refined as we went, and we concluded with the plan before you this evening. Okay, so what is a downtown plan? So this is the city's newest proposed neighborhood plan. It's just like Liberty Park or the Southeast Plan. We have a specific geography. We have the heart of our community. We're continuing to look at it and wanting it to grow. This plan looks at just analyzing existing conditions and also kind of our strengths and weaknesses. What are some of the challenges and what are the opportunities as we move forward? This document helps establish a vision and goals for moving forward in this identified geography. And then with that, we have proposed strategies, projects, and potential implementation measures to help us get there. So the plan is identified in 5 different chapters: introduction, downtown today, vision and goals, downtown tomorrow, and implementation, and then there's an appendix section. So I'm going to kind of walk you through those chapters, give you a high level of what they kind of note, and so you can get a sense of what it's all about. So chapter 1, the introduction, this really kicks off laying out the vision for downtown as displayed on the screen there on the right. It describes where downtown sits within Medford and the regional geography, and that downtown is where our community started. This chapter outlines some of the prior downtown plans, noting some of the ideas and successes of past plans, and then prior goals that have helped to shape our current downtown. This plan also serves as a stepping stone for those past efforts and is complementary to other plans such as the Parks Strategic Plan, the Vision 2040 Plan, and the City Center Revitalization Plan. So they're all working together as we move forward. Chapter 2 is Downtown Today. So this really kind of focuses on kind of what is the geography, what's happening downtown right now, what are the regulatory kind of layout, things like that. So it's really broken down into 4 focus areas. The urban fabric talks about the mechanics of the existing zoning and overlays. Parks and green space highlights our park assets. Mobility and connectivity talks about the transportation system and kind of the layout of kind of how things are working on a transportation perspective. And then culture and experience is really what's the feel of downtown, that this is really our cultural, civic, and entertainment district, and so how we kind of interplay with that and all the things that make it special, the buildings, the signs, things like that. So this section also kind of weaves in, as I was mentioning, the comments that we've heard through this process, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about how that shaped each of these kind of focus areas. So first, urban fabric, looking at the map, you can see that the black dash line is the current historic district. That was designated, I think, back in the late 90s. That will not change. We will continue to have a historic district. The green line is the central business overlay. That kind of gives us the special, kind of little elements that make special requirements and regulations for downtown in that boundary. And then the purple is our proposed downtown boundary as we kind of look at this plan and look at future expansion of changing codes and things like that. This also talks about just looking at, this is the general land use plan designations. You can see there's all kinds of different flavors of commercial and industrial and civic center. And so really looking at how do we, at some point, maybe combine that and make it more cohesive. This section also talks about some of the landmarks. It really kind of lays out where our parks are, obviously where the Greenway is, how Interstate 5 plays to downtown, the railroad that cuts through it, and that our transit station is also downtown. So in terms of public feedback, a lot of people on the urban fabric side talked about that there's too many vacant storefronts, too many undeveloped parcels, that we need residential housing, that we need to provide more urban amenities and reasons for people to come downtown, and we need to define downtown more clearly with signage, with welcome signs, with things that make it exciting, physical markers, things like that. The parks and green space, we have 4 parks in downtown, and we also have the Bear Creek Greenway, all amazing assets. The public sentiment around these types of things included improved safety in parks and community spaces through events and activities, integrating Bear Creek through future opportunities, so reconsidering kind of our land uses and even restoration of the creek, and increasing street trees, landscaping, and green space. Mobility and connectivity, again, this is kind of laying out kind of how our street network works, where our transit hub is located. We have wide sidewalks, we have buildings up to the street, we have bike infrastructure, so it's really kind of just laying out the transportation components of downtown. Public comments on this, looking at improving connections between parks, greenways, and areas of downtown. So people want to be able to, walk from Hawthorne maybe over to Pear Blossom Park. They want to feel like there is a good connection to that. They want wayfinding and signage. They want visible gateways. Bike lanes obviously are always a contentious issue, and so that comments were that there was still support for enhanced connectivity between the different modes. And then culture and experience, this is really looking at the assets that we already have. We have, civic buildings, we have murals, we have entertainment venues, we have things that are already established and that are providing assets to downtown. But people said they wanted other things as well. They want really for our downtown story and our brand to be known and shown, and people to recognize us and want to come and be downtown. They wanted more events and programming, as well improving safety in our public spaces. Chapter 3 is vision and goals. Again, this is looking at incorporating all that public engagement and really creating what the vision is on the screen. The community priorities that we heard help to develop the goals that are noted on the screen. So we heard that downtown Medford should support local businesses, support regular family-friendly programming and community events, integrate Bear Creek in the Greenway, offer diverse dining, shopping, and entertainment, ensure convenient and accessible parking, and highlight downtown's unique stories and diverse communities. This chapter also looks at downtown subdistricts. So this is really taking a look at that boundary, kind of looking at the current characteristics and identity of those spaces, and then kind of having a vision statement for what those might be if there's new development or things change. So this is really highlighting kind of the unique characteristics and priorities of each place, encouraging connections between districts, and supporting a unified downtown. Chapter 4 is Downtown Tomorrow, so the things that we might want to see. These might be what we call the big moves. And so these were developed based on community feedback and opportunities seen through the plan's development. They help to implement the vision and goals identified. Each big move is described separately and is outlined with how to move the idea forward with policy and regulations, partnerships through public-private interactions, development opportunities, and programming and promotion. And so with these, there's things that we've already you've heard through this presentation. Integrating Bear Creek into downtown. We have Hawthorne Park that has a large frontage on Bear Creek, looking at maybe restoration, looking at creating more space on the western side of the creek, creating a trail system, creating more park amenities, being able to look at the creek, things like that. Other things include creating a food hub, looking at activating our alley network. There's a lot of great alleys that have murals and things that can provide access for people to get through downtown and experience it in a different way. This chapter also talks about urban form concepts. So this gets into architectural and design standards, what it might look like when we bring back kind of code changes. If people want to build new buildings, having them built up to the street, similar to Main Street or Central, having there be spaces for plazas, for green space, landscaping, things that make downtown cohesive with what we already have. This also talks about the built environment, and so there's a lot of different kind of concepts built into, what do intersections look like? What kind of landscaping is there? What kind of seating? What kind of lighting? So it gets into all of the kind of elements of downtown that we already have started, but adding to those. Chapter 5 is the implementation section, so there's a large matrix provided in the back. There's 27 strategies outlined, and it's really I pulled this quote out right out of the plan. We're not going to do this overnight. We've been doing it for decades. Every plan seems to make a step forward and do something. We're hoping that we have kind of this momentum happening downtown with new things occurring, and so this matrix really just outlines some of those goals and strategies, puts them into a format that says, okay, hey, here's the action item, try and go after some of those things. So I'm going to just show you a couple of those. Sorry, it's small on the screen, but this is one. So implementing parking management strategies. This really gets into, who's the lead agent, who is the supporting partners that we can talk to through this process, what's the timing? Is it short term, up to 5 years? Is it midterm, or is it long term? And then it provides measurements for success. So have we done what we set out to do? There could be other successes as well, but just kind of gives you a range. And then the actions kind of outline steps that we can take to kind of accomplish that goal. And then just one more, the activating the alley network, again, showing you kind of who the partners are, being able to kind of look at our alley system. Planning does have a budgeted project to look at alley networks, and so hopefully this would be one that we could kick off right away. Agency comments. So we did receive comments from Public Works, Engineering, and Fire. Public Works didn't want to be the lead agency, and so we just made sure that we kind of put planning on the on the same block with them on the implementation section. And the fire department was also supportive. They just want to make sure that as we move projects forward, that we consider emergency response in any future projects. Public comments. I know that one of the public had mentioned the 13 folks online, the surveys that we took. So this was the first one that launched in August of 24. We were proud of the 1,300 responses. I know it's maybe a small percentage, but we were so close to being the Parks Department, but not quite. Also, in terms of prioritization survey responses, 317. Again, there were some zeros and some maybe people not responding, but they took the survey, so that's great. They at least were engaged. We had 7 interviews with community partners and city leadership, 6 public advisory committee meetings. And again, if I didn't say it enough, thank you to them. And please look at that list. It's a large list. There's a lot of people that helped us through this process. 3 community events, including an open house for the climate-friendly area boundary in the downtown, 4 council study sessions, and 1 council briefing. Kind of like that song, right? 12 Days of Christmas. Okay, public comments. We sent out 621 property owner notices twice, 1 for the Planning Commission meeting, 1 for this evening. Prior to Planning Commission, I heard from 12 property owners. You can see kind of the list there, 7 within the boundary, 3 outside. 1 I was not able to speak with, but she actually attended the Planning Commission hearing, so I got to meet her. That was great. Following the Planning Commission, again, we sent out notice to the same folks. I heard from 4 property owners at that point. So again, questions about the plan, how's this going to impact my property? What are the proposed changes? So a lot of emails, a lot of discussions back and forth. We did have 3 people provide testimony at the Planning Commission hearing in favor. Planning Commission held a hearing on August 14th. There was a tie vote 4-4, which means no formal recommendation is being provided from that commission to you this evening. And there was a lot of discussion. We had a study session that kind of went over some of their questions and concerns. Staff this evening is hoping that you want to approve Council Bill 2025-83. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you have. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Carla. Questions? Mr. Kerlinger.
Regarding the urban form concepts,
Sure.
chapter 4, my understanding, this is a guiding document, so it's saying this document will not in and of itself change any code, but it'll help provide some direction if we are going to change code.
Correct. So we have kind of a framework.
Great.
We would create code language. We would bring that before the Planning Commission, City Council. You guys will ultimately decide how you want that language to look.
So we could pass this document that says, hey, let's try to shoot for this, and then shoot down every code change that tries to accomplish it, which would be stupid,
You could.
but it's still coming up for a vote.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll come back.
I guess as a technical question, how do you foresee if this is adopted, the next steps to making implementation code changes?
So I would be looking at the downtown boundary itself, looking at changing the general land use plan designation from all those multiple different GLUPs to the civic center, so they all match, as well as looking at a downtown zone for that boundary, and then the architectural standards.
And then what kind of time frame do you think that is? I guess is my question, really.
Probably the next 4 months.
Oh.
Soon.
Quickly.
I think it also depends, though, on the conversations and how many revisions. So it could be longer. I think 4 months is optimistic.
Yes, Mr. Card.
So, one of the things that I know sometimes we go about doing things slowly and deliberately, but also because this is more of a theoretical document than an actual code change. Are you concerned that perhaps once we start down the road of actual substantive changes, there's going to be people who are going to become more engaged and go, oh, wait a second, I don't want you to do that now. Mm-hmm. And to Mike's point, if we start punching a bunch of holes in our framework document, then we don't have much of a framework left. Mm-hmm. And so I was just trying to get your sense of that. I know you've gone through a lot of this kind of stuff, Carla, so I just curious.
I think
Sorry, I'm not going to interrupt you.
No,
I'm
that's
just going
fine.
to put this up because I think this chapter that has the vision and goals when you think about the future and considering how we're going to do the code changes to reflect this plan, if there are things in this vision and goals you don't agree with, these are the meat of the plan. And these are the things we would want to hear from you now that don't reflect council's objectives. So this is really the guiding element to all of the strategies and all the things that will come forward that you'll see later. So I would just pause a moment on this and make sure that this resonates with the council today. Yeah. Thank you.
Counselor Card, I think also just on the code amendment side, I think on the changing the GLUP and the zoning, they're going to be similar to the commercial zone. I don't think that there's going to be anything different there. We will probably come back with some changes on uses. And so I think that may be where people are like, I don't want you to take that away from me. So again, that's going to be really a policy decision on, do these goals match what we want, and do some of those uses no longer pertain? And then in terms of the architectural, the way that it's drafted, it's really more form-based. So it's really like, we don't want to nitpick every, X and O on the building, but we just want the form and the location to kind of fit a form. So I think you'll see something that will be a little bit newer than what we have currently for architectural design and those kind of things. But again, we'll kind of have to see.
Yes, Mr. West.
4 months. That's light speed.
I know. I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, you should never commit on a time frame like that.
Don't hold me to that.
With the eventual, we pass this and we want to redo the general land use plan map and we want to do the new downtown civic zoning, there will still be opportunities for public participation.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
They will get notice. Planning commission hearings, city council meetings, study sessions. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If you were to characterize this as we have essentially neighborhood plans already, right? I mean, and
a few.
And in some of them, the one I can think of right off the top of my head, there are elements of that plan that have not been implemented yet. In other words, it's not been constructed. Or
Are you thinking of the Southeast plan?
I'm thinking of the Southeast. Certain areas to that, there's a whole lot of attention given to it in that neighborhood plan, but it has not come to fruition, and that's just basically because it hasn't been built yet. This being, a lot of this is redevelopment type, I guess, to a certain degree driven. So the city's going to have to be a pretty big partner in a lot of it, but at the same time, as you went through this process and you're kind of looking at that vision of how does a downtown go from what we have today to what you might see in a town of 250,000, 300, I mean, you're looking pretty far down the road. I mean, this is like legitimate planning. Is a majority of that and of what you kind of looked at, are those transformations largely driven by public funds or private redevelopment funds?
I think it's both. I think that we have assets downtown that maybe we want to put on the market for development, or we have, people that have vacant buildings that are going to have tenants. So, I mean, I think it's both. I think there's going to be vacancies or redevelopment of private property. When they're ready, that's going to happen. We have our own ability as the public to also look at, parking lots or things like that we may want to change. So I think it's both.
And really, I guess at the end of the day, because we don't necessarily have a project list with defined contributions, this council would not be essentially adopting this plan and then also adopting a giant financial burden.
No, there's no dollar amounts. This would really become council priorities as you're doing goal setting and saying, hey, we want to go after the alley network, or we want to look at how we're going to integrate Bear Creek maybe with the Hawthorne Park or something like that. So it would be as we pick off those items.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah, Mr. Quinn?
I would say what I have to say is more of a comment than a question for Carla, so I'll just wait.
Okay. So seeing no further questions, at this point, I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak on the subject, please come forward as called. Please identify yourself for the record before speaking. Winnie?
We just had one, Your Honor, for Jared Pulver.
Mayor and Council, Jared Pulver, 3908 Crystal Springs Drive in Medford. I don't know if it's harder to speak or walk. I tweaked my back, so I'm kind of like a pirate right now. I've been on the Plan Commission for about 10 years, and I guess I'll go back. I don't know. Mayor, you might have been at this meeting, but when I interviewed for my second term, they were kind of asking some questions, and I asked Mayor Wheeler, I said, well, what do you see the relationship being between the Planning Commission and Council? And he said, I don't think there should be one. Like, we should all be independent, which the spirit of that comment, like, I think what he said maybe came out a little wrong. The spirit of his comment was right. Like, the bodies should be independent. They should have independent thinking. There should be communication and all that sort of stuff. Like, that part's good. But what I fear sometimes is that we are so much in our silos that we're not working in unison, even if we disagree on things we want. And it comes up a lot at Planning Commission that council can do whatever they want to do, like whether we agree with it or not. Like, that's not what we're looking for. So I guess to go backwards, by no means is this and this is me speaking as me, not as representing the Planning Commission, but I have tons of respect for Carla, and I'm rooting for downtown. Like, by no means take these comments as anything other than that. And the fact that they spent 18 months on this project, time, resources, etc., and the public input as well as the parties that spent time working on the document, that's not lost on me. And so I don't want any of my comments to be indicating anything other than that. But I've also heard things like, this is an aspirational document. I mean, the document actually goes through the history of all the different downtown plans that have been out there. And kind of the question is, well, what have those actually got accomplished? And I'm not sure we have a great answer for that, with the exception of probably Mira. It's hard to kind of make tangible connections there. And so I think it's a shame that a document that had this much effort put into it would become one of those documents that got thrown on a shelf. So I don't want that. At the same time, you're talking to a planning commissioner who, for the last year or two, has been dealing with CFEC mandates coming at them with all the code changes, where it's like, well, what do you think about this? Well, it doesn't really matter what you think, because we don't have a choice. This is what's getting shoved down our throat. And that's, I mean, there's a lot of code-based decisions that we make where it doesn't matter whether we want it or don't want it. It's if it meets the criteria, it needs to be accepted. But there are some things that come across our plate that where our input and opinions should matter. And I guess I feel like this is one of them. I think it's great that that's up there. I'm not sure those goals have a great correlation to code changes, specifically, and for the spirit of Kevin Stein that floats around the dais. He didn't think that there was any specifics in the minutes of the meeting where we talked about this, and that's why we asked that you listen to the meeting. But specifically for me, attachments D and E are of concern. Those address parking and design standards. I think those really need to be studied. I know that parking has been a hot topic, and I don't know that there's a great answer, and ultimately we'll probably come to you for that direction, but those specifically are of concern to me. But I think it would make a lot of sense for staff, for our body, for your body, to talk about what these code changes that are coming down the pike, or what planning staff envisions these code changes being, so we could talk about them, and so that we can hear what you guys think about them. Because if you're all in favor, like, we'll acknowledge that, and I mean, say we don't want to be a thorn in your side. That's not the goal of our body, and it's not my goal and why I'm here tonight. It's a big document. I hope that you've all read it, but it's close to 600 pages, and so to say that you can just sign off on that and say, yep, everything in this document's great, and bring on all the code changes, I think I struggle with that. We haven't had 18 months to digest it. We've had a month or two. So anyway, I'd ask that you table it for a little while. However you want to do that, that's your call. But I think some more discussions warranted to have it be a successful document driving our vision in the future.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak?
I would feel awkward if I didn't speak, and I think I talked about this the last time you guys talked about this. I think I came in front of you, and I'm Annie Jenkins, Downtown Medford Association. I did sit on this committee for 18 months. We worked long and hard. We had 3-hour meetings every single time, and I think that at the end of the day, that moving this plan forward, number one, gives us an opportunity to have purposeful planning involved This is what this document is showing us. It's not a document that hopefully will ever sit on a shelf, because it's one that needs to move forward in order for us to be hugely successful. And to people constantly compare us to other towns. And I like to say, let's relate ourselves to other towns, because we truly have an amazing downtown. We have historical buildings that need to be used in the ways that make sense. We have places that people can live upstairs that they're currently not living, but that can be used differently. And this plan really puts everything into action all together. I also would love to see everybody on the same page, and I would love to see Planning Commission understand where this document is coming from, and that they see the real purpose of it and how it's supposed to move forward. And so I think with that, I think that the goals that are in front of here, I think the vision really came from a great place and from great community members. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Before we close the public hearing, anyone else would like to come down? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing portion of this agenda. And discussion. I will actually kick off a discussion, because it's been, that's a very good point about these ideas of just plans on shelves. And particularly with downtown and the things that we have not implemented, and what's the point of going through all of this if you're not going to do anything when it's done? But I think the kind of the interesting thing to me about this one in particular is the fact that, yes, we have not fully got through the meat and potatoes of like how we're going to put the code in, how are we going to get these sort of things implemented. At the end of the day, the biggest struggle we're going to have is money, and partners on that. And you just can't make that come about. However, I just know that downtown's a lot different now than it was when I moved here, and it'll continue to go so. So kind of having at least that thought of where you need to go kind of makes sense to me. But I think very valid points were brought up about, hey, this is going to be sad if we look back 25 years and we didn't do anything that we saw in here. So, at any rate, motion?
I might get punched by certain people for this. I really want to respect how much time has gone into this document and how many people contributed to it, and recognize people are really excited to see this move forward. The same token, like Jared, I have not had 18 months of exposure to this. It's a very long document. I don't feel like, if someone said, explain to me the details of this and why you supported it, I do not feel like I have a firm enough grasp on the meat to speak to that. So everyone is free to shut me down if everyone else feels like you have had the time to fully digest it and I'm the slacker. I'd like to make a motion to continue this to our next meeting so I can try to ensure I fully understand what I'm voting on. If I am the outlier, my feelings will not be hurt, and I'll be very happy for everyone who's already invested time in it. But my motion is to continue to the next meeting.
Second.
We got a second from Mr. Keating. So now, discussion on the continuance motion. Yes.
I just have a question for staff. Carla, let's say we do continue this. Are there meaningful consequences for planning?
No.
It's it'll delay your 4-month.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you just missed a golden opportunity to say it's going to take me 18 months to get those code revisions done. Live and learn. Yes, Mr. West.
I did want to thank Mr. Pulver for coming down and talking to us tonight, and for all the work Planning Commission puts into these things. And I'm thankful someone else has to read this besides us just up here. A lot of the questions raised at Planning Commission, I think, are really important questions. I know the community is concerned about parking downtown. So am I. I want parking downtown to be easy, and I want there to be plentiful parking downtown. And the questions that were raised at planning about, how do we afford and how do we budget for these kind of big projects we want to see downtown, and my own passion for seeing more private development come into our community and build things up. So I thought it was a really vital discussion that they had. As for the postponement on this, of course, I think if people want to have more time to review the document. It's very long, and I get that. I think that makes sense. I went to the open house. I did the survey. I feel like I've been very involved in this plan, so I don't feel like I need it, but I understand that other people's do. Thank you.
Any other comments on the continuance? Miss Jessica.
Miss Jessica. I think, I feel like we keep kicking the can on this. We've had study sessions around it. We've had it in our possession. But you're right, it is 600 pages. I think I personally am in favor of having a maybe joint study session with planning. I don't know if that needs to happen before we move forward with this or when we're specifically talking about code action items. But I think if we're going to continue it, we need to come up with a solid plan of how we're going to get everybody comfortable and when we're going to move forward, because I feel like we've just kind of been pushing it out.
Nick?
So I do agree with Jessica in the sense of because I'm of two minds of this. Like, okay, fine, aspirational document, I agree with the aspirations, check the box, let's move on. But I also want to make sure that this doesn't just yay and then it sits on a shelf, because that doesn't do anybody any good. I have been a big proponent of the work that's going into downtown, the effort and energy that's gone into this. I don't know how it compares to past efforts, but what I've seen is a lot of very passionate people who are really interested in enhancing our downtown, who have invested time and effort into this plan. And so as far as the actual nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes of actually getting this to fruition, that is something I am a lot more interested in, and how we do that in ways that, respect our property owners' freedoms, that incentivize more business development, and et cetera, et cetera. So I would definitely want to make sure that we are looking at this as a joint study session with planning when we start getting into what is the actual code going to happen. Because I don't have a problem with adopting this today. I would be in favor of doing it, but again, there's the transition from aspirational to actionable is always one that can get rough, and I think hearing from the members of the Planning Commission that we have as we've gone through this process, it's clear they're also passionate about this, and they also want to see this happen, and so I think there'd be a lot of good, productive work that could happen through a kind of joint study session. So all that to be said, I will vote against the continuation. I think we should just adopt this today. I think the real work that is in front of us is ensuring how does this translate to real action, and that is going to be a lot harder than just 600 pages, I'll tell you that. So,
yeah, I guess what I would ask as a thought is what would the extra week or extra 2 weeks get you as far as this particular document goes? Because, and I don't want to just reiterate Nick's point, but that just sticks out in my mind, is what would you change of the goals, and what would you change of the concept? I think at least what I heard was concern over proposed parking and design standards for sure. And it sounds like those are issues, but those are not. If that's the concern, then that is where the code implementation language comes in. So I just don't know if we're gonna, if the continuance would fix it, but that's certainly not a vote I have. Yes.
I understand, Jessica, what you're saying, that this has just been kicked down multiple times. I will own up to the fact that this is not the first time I'm seeing this document when it came out with this agenda. It may be just the way I process information. I see this on our agenda and I say, great, I want to make sure I read through that before I vote on it. And I've seen different parts of it and had different discussions on it and different elements of it. And I may read through the full thing, which I did not have time to do this week, and say, oh yeah, I remember that, I'm fine with this. So that being said, what would it change is, I tell you, I promise I will read through all 600 pages before the 15th. Or just keep my dang mouth shut. No. But also, if people are more concerned with the meat and potatoes and don't feel that's necessary, I'm not going to be frustrated that the motion is not carried right now. Okay. I just want to express my desire to make sure I have done a final review
and understand.
Perfect. I got Mr. Keating first, then you, John.
Yeah, I agree with much of what Mr. Curlinger has said, and I would like a little bit more time, even though I have been through it. I've been to the meetings, and I kind of want to understand a little bit more of where some of the opposition is coming from, and that wasn't in the document itself. And so I would like to make some phone calls and talk to some people.
Okay. Mr. Quinn?
You know, before I joined council, I was on the planning commission with Mr. Pulver for 2 years, and I cannot recall us ever being 4-4. This is very unusual for there to be no recommendation, and at least speaking for myself, and I think we're all in the same situation. These are people we all know very well that are very smart people, all of them, and they're all very different, and they all bring a lot to the table. And if they're 4-4, then we have to pay attention, whether it's aspirational and a guideline and it's not really where the rubber hits the road. 4 very smart people said, I'm not so sure about this. So I would support having more time, not necessarily for Mr. Curlinger's reason, but I mean, I'm fully prepared to go to vote yea or nay. But I think I actually would support a joint study session, frankly, because I don't want our planning commission to feel not heard. And I think they very frequently do feel not heard, especially with some comments that were made about whether it was important to listen to their debate or not by anyone who's here today. So that concerns me both institutionally and with respect to this particular matter.
Okay, so the motion is to continue this. Did you say October 15th? You did. Okay. Is that the actual course of action you guys want to take, or do you want to continue this date uncertain and schedule a study session with the Planning Commission prior?
I think there's an institutional value in doing the latter.
I'm just trying to make sure, because if we wait 2 weeks and we're right back here.
Right.
My motion, which I believe was seconded by Keating, was just to continue this to the next meeting.
So, yes, okay. So that's what we're set on doing as it is now. But what I'm hearing is, no, what I want to do is have a joint study session before we adopt this. At least on one person. Yes, ma'am.
Do we really think that we need a joint study session before we get to the code process of this? Because I think that's where the big concerns are, right?
If for the only time since I've known him, Mr. Pulver has decided to take an evening out of his day to come see us, if it's that momentous to him, then I care that much. So yes.
Okay, so the current motion is to wait basically 2 weeks to do this again. And what'll happen in 2 weeks is some phone calls will be made and an additional reading done and additional research. Okay. I don't hear a real, I guess, push to try and do something different than that. Okay. How about we just call the roll on this and see where it ends up? Winnie?
Mike Curlinger,
Yes.
Kevin Keating,
Yes.
Nick Card,
No.
Jessica Ayers,
No.
Zach Smith,
Yes.
John Quinn,
Yes.
and Garrett West.
Yes.
We have 5 yes and 2 no.
Okay. That being said, so it is now continued to October 15th. We will take a look at what the October 15th agenda looks like, and we may be doing another continuance from there, but we'll see. Okay. That is it for public hearings tonight. Okay, so what am I doing now? I am doing proclamations. That being said, there are three. We have kind of a busy schedule tonight, believe it or not. And so I'm just going to note those, but I will tell you this, that all these proclamations in their full detail and glory are on our website and worth reading. I will like to note that we are recognizing Community Planning Month, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and Fire Prevention Week, and specifically our fire department, who we heard from earlier, our planning department that we just put through the ringer there, but we'll see you again in a couple weeks, so it's all good. And then, of course, our IT department. Turn it over to you, Mr. Card.
Thank you. We had a fascinating council officers meeting today. 5 items on the agenda. First item, Councilor West brought to us concerns about how we regulate our commission and committee meetings regarding things like recording, minutes, notices, etc. Mr. Mitten is going to look into some of the code language and process. I don't know, Eric, if you want to speak more to that.
I think right now that kind of sums it up. If anyone wants more details, they can follow up with me afterward.
All right. Thank you. Second item, questions about the council travel and the process. So for those who don't know, we have a finance committee of council members and that it contains the council president, the council vice president, and also Kevin Stein. Jessica is our chair of the finance committee. The finance committee is responsible for approving reimbursements to councilors. And so basically John had come to us with questions about budget and expenses for travel and what the process is to get those approved. And so just in general, that process, if you have some kind of travel that you're interested in doing, or in general, any expense that you want reimbursed, that's something that you believe is related to city business and would be good for the city, then that is something that should be brought to council officers. Then we can have a discussion, council officers bring it to council, and if anyone has any strong opinions, they can speak their mind, and then it can go to the finance committee for approval. Anyone have any questions about travel process? Easy peasy. Number 3, we have this is a DLCD. Yeah? Oh, okay. I thought you were laughing at me. You're laughing with me? Is that what it is? Okay. DLCD, the Department of Land. What is it?
Land Conservation and Development.
Land Conservation and Development, thank you. Trying to do the acronyms there for you, Jessica. And so we are looking to get some technical assistance, a grant for technical assistance to establish a, what is this? What are we? A wetlands mitigation bank. That's what it is. And so basically, I think the simplest explanation by analogy is it's like carbon credits, except this is for wetland credits. And so we can use this to mitigate other kinds of wetland disruption that happens as we, in the city, as we build roads and all that kind of stuff. Here's the key takeaway. It's a $0 match for us. So there's 0 cost obligation. To me, that makes a lot of sense, and so I move that we sign the letter of support for technical assistance grant application.
I second the motion.
All right. Any discussion or questions on the issue? How much does it cost us? Costs us $0. Mr. West.
I think this is such a great idea from planning. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Carla. Representing developers, we have so much trouble with wetlands in our urban growth boundaries that are not naturally formed. It drives me insane sometimes because it prevents us from building needed housing in our urban growth boundaries where housing should be. So having something like this will benefit our housing in town.
And so if you guys want, I've got some maps. This is a bunch of property that's out off of Table Rock and Antelope. And so it's not in the city limits. It's areas that aren't sort of natural next step development. And to Garrett's point, it helps us develop land that we should be developing today. So with that, all those in favor of the letter of support, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Awesome. That letter passes. Mike, you can sign it. Congratulations. All right, next item, New Spirit Village HOF request. So, New Spirit made a request of HOF funds for the 2025 year award. However, their application contained a phase that was not scheduled until 2026, and so their application was pushed off to the 2026 awards. They have sent us a letter requesting that we revisit that as council and give them money now for this project. It contains stuff that's going on right now as well as stuff for the future. So there's a couple different ways we can go about this. Staff has no recommendation for us. One is we can say nothing and then it just will continue through with the 2026 cycle, or we could request that planning bring back to us an updated application that removes these extraneous phases. Does anyone have, my personal recommendation is that we just do nothing, but does anyone have any comments or desire to do something different than that? Mr. Keating.
If we were going to do this, and if this seems to be somewhat technical, I would rather move it up and help them develop this as quickly as possible, personally.
Okay. Mr. Quinn?
We had, if you'll recall, a pretty thorough discussion about this previously, and I don't see a reason to change our outlook.
All right. Any, Mr. Krillinger.
So the request was based on the fact that our initial understanding was the funds were for a 2026 phase. They responded and said some of this work is currently happening now, but was any detail provided as to what scope of that work or what is actually happening?
I'm going to phone a friend.
Hello again, counselors. So yeah, the original HOF application outlined the work that was going to be done in phase 5. They are currently on portions of phase 3. So their letter requested that basically to reconsider the 2025 HOF funding for their current project, which is phase 3. I think they overestimated the time frame for where phase 5 would actually be constructed, and that was very specific in their application. So they aren't going to be building that for at least until the middle of next year. So now they're asking for it to be now for the phase 3 that they're working in today.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I mean, yeah.
All right.
I think maybe what Councilor Curlinger is getting at is we don't really have a lot of information in front of us about what these funds are being used for because that request is old. So perhaps we need a formal new request that actually outlines where they're at in the project, what they're requesting these funds for, and just make sure it lines up with something that we feel good about supporting, as we did decline it once before.
Michelle, is that something you need council direction to do? Because
yeah.
it would require us to reopen a special
requires-
application
yes.
process, right?
Yep,
So
correct.
we would need a motion to reopen HOF application for the purpose of accepting a new application for.
Correct. Yep.
You think we should do that? Well, it looks like Mr. Keating wants to make a motion.
Two things, and then sure, I'll make a motion. I did go for a tour of New Spirit Village. Just thought I'd put that out there. I'd never discussed the HOF funds or anything about that. So that being said, I would be in favor of reconsidering the application based on the new or correct information.
So you're gonna, is that motion?
I move that we reconsider.
Kevin Keating is moving to reopen the HOF application so we can receive an updated application from New Spirit Village for
That's
the
exactly
current
what I
project.
said.
All right, do I hear a second for that motion? All right, I'm going to rule that motion dead. No second. Thanks, Kevin. Nice try. All right, next item on the agenda. Mayor's fountain signage. Mr. Mitten brought us a note from Katie wanting some clarification or on language. So basically on the plaque for the mayor's fountain, it thanks mayors for their community service. Is that?
That's correct, Your Honor. There's some language about dedicated to the mayors of Medford for their service and contributions to our community, and there was some concern that that might be interpreted as praising them for duties outside of mayoral, what they've done in their private lives. There's 44 mayors on there. Maybe not everyone has been a saint outside of the work. Staff's interpretation of the language is thanking them for their service as mayor, and did not recommend any change to that language.
So given that staff's interpretation is that we are thanking our past mayors for being mayors and nothing else that they did in their private lives outside of being mayors, that is the way staff is interpreting this language, which addresses the concerns that Katie brought to us. But I wanted to bring it here in case any one of you wants to interpret that differently or has other opinions about such interpretation. You've been wonderful. Thank you very much. That concludes our council officers. Any committee or commission reports?
I have one question before we close,
yes.
if we could. I don't know if I misspoke perhaps in the way I worded that message, but I thought that there might have been some support for reconsidering the application based on the new information or reopening it or having staff reopen it. So if I made that motion incorrectly, someone may comment.
Then I made that motion incorrectly because I think I put the words in your mouth. My intention was to capture that, and so I hope that came through because I was trying to give you that motion because I think that's what you were trying to say.
Fair enough. So if no one agreed with it, that's fine.
Committee and commission reports. Don't everybody speak up at once.
I went to the RV COG, but he did run it, and then I had to leave early. Did you want to just give a quick synopsis on the Rogue Valley Council of Governments for everybody? Sorry.
I can certainly do that. I chaired that.
Microphone.
I chaired that meeting, and it was very pleasant. And we called Zach out of order so he could tell us how things are doing in Medford. We basically just heard from all the various attendees about how things are going in their cities. We did, apart from some fairly minor technical thing about signing for the bank account, we did agree that RVCOG for the Food and Friends program is going to apply for a Medford grant next year, I believe it is. I want to say it was $30,000, $30 or $50,000. I felt comfortable voting to say, yes, you can apply for it. I'm going to think about it some more when it comes to deciding who gets it. I don't think we have a conflict, but it just seems like an unpleasant perception of impropriety. So I'm probably going to bow out when that time comes. Ma'am.
The ironic thing is my last So Ready meeting was at RVCOG, and they were talking about the issues with the program and everything, and I literally thought about suggesting that they put in an application. So somebody must have done that on my behalf.
Someone did. Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah. Also, with respect to RVSS, I mentioned previously that we lost one of our directors, Mike Parsons, who was a great guy, and I'm still very sad about that loss. But we did find a new person to fill the slot, Mr. Ronald Palmer, mayor of Gold Hill, which we thought made good sense because we're annexing or have annexed Gold Hill. So having a representative now from Gold Hill, Shady Cove, Central Point, Medford, it's geographically diverse. We thought that would be a good idea. I also had some community activities and news I was going to share, but it's not really a committee or a commission, so I'll just defer to whenever that time is right for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee or commission reports? I attended the RVMPO, the Rogue Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting. The particular item of note was that we adopted the draft project list. And so as part of the process for getting funds through the MPO, we have to have a full project list. The process by which we do this is we adopt a draft project list. That way everybody can sort of agree on the project list, and then that allows all of the cities to go, oh wait, you forgot my one really important project, and then we can fight over that. But it's better to do that now as part of a draft process than it is in the 11th hour when we're trying to seek funding for our project list. So there will probably be more updates there, but that is the primary items of note. There was a Transportation Commission meeting. Items of note on that were discussion of the downtown speed review, the parking committee action. We had the 1 hour parking review, and a discussion of the RVTD service reductions. So on agenda build coming up, Main Street updates and some minor code amendments related to residential streets and driveways. Any other committee or commission reports? John, you said you had something else for us?
Yes, I, on the 25th, attended the opening and ribbon cutting of the La Clinica Pharmacy on Market Street and got a chance to both look at that and their overall complex there, and it can be best described in 2 words: awesome. It is very cool, very impressive. Their pharmacy will be able to do 100,000 prescriptions a year. Because of the volume, they're able to give a budget-sensitive pricing and have programs to get less expensive pharmaceuticals to people that need them. They also have an acute care center right across the parking lot from that. I commend it to anyone who wants to have a look. It is a very impressive transformation for that area and those resources. As Rob mentioned, Councilor Keating, West, and I went to the Innovation Academy and gave 2 30-minute chats to their civics class, which also included a lot of young people who are running for the first time for student body. And so a lot of them were up for election, and that was a good opportunity to hear their thoughts and share with them what we do. The multicultural fair was a big success in my judgment. We had 233 people come and talk to us at our police and city booth. We had a map of the wards to help people know what ward they're in. We had a handout in English and Spanish explaining who we all are, and the map helped them know who to reach out to. And it was great. People were really into it. It was well attended, and it was time well spent. After the Innovation Academy, I went to the swearing in of our new Medford PD Sergeant, John Adamson, who is outstanding. And I'll emphasize that we're very, very lucky that we have a core group of men and women in kind of the 10 to 15 or 10 to 20-year experience range, which is lacking in a lot of agencies, including a lot of mine in Siskiyou County. And it is a treasure to have that kind of institutional skill available, and John will contribute to that quite nicely. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Any other items before I give it back to the mayor? All right, it's all yours, Your Honor.
Just one mayor report, as I had some family business in Louisiana last week, but had an opportunity to catch up with a couple of mayors that are in my cohort for the Bloomberg Harvard. So shown great hospitality, and it's always just a blast, or it's not a blast, but it's always very interesting when you start having these conversations with people throughout the country. We all have very, very common problems. And you'd think that if everybody's having the same problem, we'd have it figured out by now, but we still all kind of gotta figure out our own solutions for them. However, this is a good opportunity. We did share some of our what successes that we had on certain issues, depending on what they were, and the ability to information share is pretty tremendous. So a thank you to Mayor Sid Edwards of Baton Rouge and Monique Boulay of Lafayette, and that was cool. Mr. Field, do you have any staff reports tonight?
Nothing for this evening, no.
Great. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 7:59.